Can I have your autograph?
Can I have your autograph?
You know, the TRP of the show is going to go like sky high. Deepa Mehta, first time.
Sensational.
Leila.
हाथों की लकीरें, प्लैनेटरी पोजीशंस या फिर टैरो कार्ड्स, हमें पता है आपको फ्यूचर के बारे में जानने में बहुत इंटरेस्ट रहता है, तो एक प्रेडिक्शन मुझसे भी सुन लीजिए। अगला शो जो आप अपने डिवाइसेस से चिपक कर बिंज वॉच करने वाले हैं नेटफ्लिक्स पर आ रहा है, नाम है लैला, जिसमें मेरी फेवरेट हुमा कुरैशी इज प्लेइंग अ पिवटल रोल एंड ऑफ कोर्स दीपा मेहता, वन ऑफ द 3 डायरेक्टर्स। सच एन ऑनर टू मीट यू। बाप रे, क्या शो बनाया आपने, रियली
It's very good, Talia. Can I have your autograph?
Can I have your autograph? I mean, it's immersive, it's engaging, riveting, and it's disturbing. And it's disturbing for me because बहुत ही कोई far-fetched, अजीब सा कोई fantasy world नहीं है. It's seeming very real and almost inevitable. You know, how important, Deepa, was it to stay to like that reality? I know it's based in the future, which is also one of the reference that I gave, that 2047 may, but you're following a sort of a thread which seems that's rooted in the reality. How important was that for you?
It's not that it's important as much as that it's inevitable. You know when you have an acorn, you're going to get an oak tree. So without the seedling, there will not be a plant. So it has to be something that has to be, you can smell today, which might become the pollution of tomorrow. And it's not only just rooted in our environment, but it's rooted all over the world. एक मेरा favorite director है, he's a Spanish director, his name is Buñuel, Luis Buñuel, और उसने एक बहुत अच्छी बात कही थी, and he said, the minute you are particular is the very minute you become universal. So हमारा show है, it's very particular, but it's absolutely universal. And I think that's what we all, the reactions that we are hearing are all to that whether you're sitting in Timbuktu or you're sitting in the Antarctic, Leila resonates with you because it is universal. Its concerns are universal.
Absolutely. But tell me, whatever I watched 3 episodes देखे हैं 6 में से, and I can sense that कितना excruciating रहा होगा इसको शूट करना, physically, emotionally. I mean, I see you rolling on the floors and all of that. How difficult is that?
I have to admit, like, I think from the not the second, maybe the 3rd or the 4th day onwards, like I would literally come on set every single day, and I thought I have never done something like this before in my life. And it started with me sort of dunking myself in this dirty water on the 3rd or the 4th day, and I said, oh, this is disgusting, I've never done. And I thought, okay, tomorrow will get better. But every day it became worse. So it became about the food, rolling on the floor. It became about like
walking on the garbage.
Then one day it was on the lower level of the garbage, then it was a mid-level, and then the high level. Then one day, I remember the first day in the garbage, this thing, she was like, you have to walk through. And then she created a sequence in which I could at least wear shoes. Because before that I was wearing chappals.
Exactly, I created, remember? Yeah, I said she has to find. I couldn't let, I couldn't let Huma walk in that garbage.
Both of us felt it. She had a bad back, and her asthma was acting up, and my skin was erupting because I was allergic. I couldn't breathe. I was near asthmatic because it was just really difficult and heartbreaking also. I think emotionally. Of course,
जो वहाँ लोग रह रहे हैं,
मतलब these are
real people. Yeah. Like we still had our masks and all of that,
they
and
had
we were
nothing.
shooting. And you see these little kids sitting on that garbage dump, playing with it while their parents are working as human scavengers. It just breaks your heart. So every time I would come back, at least, or Deepa would go back, to her house or my hotel room, I would just feel so terrible. We're just going there as like these, people and shooting a series and coming back, but it just makes you feel responsible somehow. Not being able to do anything about it, but of course that's not why we were there for. But I mean, and then of course you're playing a character or you're doing a show which is so hard, physically, mentally, emotionally taxing, and then you see so much. It was the lowest level of human decency I've ever seen in my life.
It was really
difficult. Beyond that, and that really got to us. I think
that got to us, and also I think what I remember we spoke about it, Huma, was that it was not poverty tourism.
No.
We weren't a crew from abroad who's come to shoot in the slums of Delhi. This was our environment.
Yeah.
We were talking about something that concerns us, our blood,
Yep,
our
yep,
racial memory, who we are. So then it became quite traumatic. It wasn't that acha hum ghar jaaye, we're going to sit on a plane and go away.
Yeah. And this is the situation right now. So you were filming today, like in.
The day we were there, it was a winter morning in Delhi, I
Yeah,
remember,
yeah.
and that day it said that Delhi air pollution is the worst in the country, and we were possibly filming at the dirtiest spot in all of Delhi or close to Delhi.
Yeah.
So that made us actually being part of those people who were living in the most polluted spot on the planet possibly.
Yes.
So it was kind of like scary. It was also about like Deepa said, it wasn't that we went there and we were just shooting poverty to glorify it or to sell it.
Yeah.
But the idea was that these are also our people.
This is it. It's our people.
And it's just so wrong. When you literally can go a kilometer here or there, and people still have at least pakka makan or running water, or even like using a flush was a luxury. And that is just heartbreaking in a way, because you're like, it just shakes you up. It really shakes you up.
Coming to the series, Deepa, there are references like gas chamber hai, there is that Aryavat salute and purification of race. What were the sort of references, if any, that it's almost like a Holocaust type situation.
I think it was a bit like that. It's any authoritarian, any totalitarian regime has that. Whether it was Hitler's Auschwitz camps or his Nazis or his the SSS and that's all, whether it's Mussolini or to a certain extent whether it's Trump's America today. It's prevalent in any totalitarian government. It's happening in Venezuela. So everybody has their own symbols. The Nazis had a salute, Mussolini had a salute, Venezuela has a salute. So I think when the book was, this is not in the book, but when the Bible was written, you have to make certain symbols to go from the page to an action, because that is the transition from one medium to the other. Whatever is written has to become an image. So the image was translated into a certain action.
When you were playing Shalini, did you find her character at all relatable? I mean,
I found it completely relatable, and I would say that a lot, because the specifics can be different, but the fact is, I always consider myself lucky, and I come from a good, secure home. I had the opportunity of education, of like a loving family, a great environment, and I have all these things today as a citizen of this country. But what really sort of shook me is that what if one day everything is just taken away from us? Then what's going to happen? And I always put myself in that spot, and it's cinema, and it's about imagination, right? And I'm like, wow, if everything that I have today as a person, which Shalini had in the beginning of the series, if that's taken away from you, kya bachega? What will you do? And honestly, I don't think I would make very dissimilar choices. Maybe I'd probably get more aggressive. But if
I think so.
Thanks. but that's. I mean, so I think a lot of people relate to it, because if you just forget all the surface details, actually it's about that, right? We always feel like we have so many privileges living today, and what if just by some like a bad dream, if all that is sort of just goes away like that?
So Shalini's arc, जैसे कहते हैं, narrative arc, मेरे लिए, and what Huma has done in spades, I think, is that she's shown the mettle of a woman, or a person. Let's not just get women centric, of a human being.
and she holds attention.
Oh my God! She eats up the screen.
Absolutely, I agree with you.
I was just. There were some shots that we did, which, I was stunned. And then, as a director, you become greedy and you say, now you have to do it every minute.
but that's what I'm saying. But it's I think it's one of those characters that was so well written. So ये बहुत अच्छे से लिखा हुआ था. Urmi, was a lead writer on it, and she gave it so much like depth, and of course Deepa came and made it for me so much more personal. Like she really pushed me to go into that deep space where you make those connections between Shalini and Huma. So somewhere for me that line kept like getting blurred, and I kept putting myself in her shoes constantly. And yeah, they were like they were just days that I could just, I just felt I really was Shalini, and there's no other way to sort of say this.
No, you absolutely became lost in her, and you become, when an actor forgets about makeup and hair and becomes about character, then you're into something really special.
That's what I mean. There was no frill
It
about
was
Yeah,
hanging.
it
It was
portrayal,
like
and now-
bare bones.
Yeah,
Bilkul.
and that's when your rawness, and that's when
Yeah.
the true character of the actor, I think, that comes
No,
out.
because honestly, I was spending probably 10 minutes to get ready into hair, makeup, costume, everything. Literally, I'm not even exaggerating. But I would spend hours with Deepa just chatting about,
Yeah.
what's happening and what's going on, and if you're shooting, supposing for whatever number of hours that day. Deepa's also the kind of director. She's never sitting. She's constantly, just walking around or figuring out what needs to happen or working on a scene. Or so it's a constant. You're constantly being fueled by this by this powerhouse sitting right next to me, and you just go like, oh wow, like okay, let me try this or let me try that. And I think that's what happened. I think a lot of Shalini is also her. And how she and I know she'll agree with me. It is a
I like compliments. It's okay. No, but seriously, how can I say it? I worked on many films, but there's certain spaces that become, when you talk about the magic of cinema. Definitely, Leila was magical. It was magical not because it was ephemeral or it was something you can't hold, but because it was so solid and you could smell it, and it was raw, and it was we could touch it almost. Yeah, and and that is, cinema is truly collaborative. That can't just happen because of Huma and me. It happens because we have a group of people who are with us, who help us create the magic. Whether it was the cinematographer, whether it was the production designers, whether it was our producers, whether it was the writers, whether it was our first ADs, everybody was in it together.
That also brings me to the co-actors. I mean, thank you for bringing back Rahul, and we've missed him on screen. How was it with Siddharth, Rahul, and Sanjay?
They all are amazing.
Yeah, and behind the scenes, was it as serious as it looks on screen? Was
Not
it-
as serious. I mean,
No, we were quite crazy.
we were
at
quite
times.
crazy. We had our fun, and we used to have amazing rap parties.
Yeah.
So we had them after every block, and Deepa's a terrific dancer, I must tell you. Not many
That's
people
not
know.
true.
She's amazing. She's amazing. We have to make her do it after this interview gets done.
Bilkul.
The TRP of the show is going to go like sky high. Deepa Mehta, first time.
Sensational.
Leila. Of all things. We had that little Manisha. My God, what a dancer she was. She had us in splits
yeah,
in
she was
between
amazing.
shots.
Yeah, she's
She's
great.
amazing. She's again, it's Rahul,
Siddharth's
Siddharth,
amazing.
Seema Biswas,
Yeah.
Arif Zakaria, little Adarsh.
Adarsh is also an
Super.
amazing actor. And I feel like everybody got so much energy into every single scene. Like everyone was giving it their 100%. There's some scenes that we shot in the much later episodes, with Siddharth or Adarsh. And I thought they just
Dynamite.
they were dynamite. They were so good. And I feel like, it's like Deepa said, it's just everyone who sort of contributes and make this their own, and they just flew with it.
Yeah.
और ये तो you think कि अच्छा now we stop shooting, but the life of a film also actually begins after the shoot.
Yeah.
We had fabulous editors. Alok Nanda did music for us, which was brilliant, and also I think that there was a pervasive. You can't create in a vacuum. We did have the support of our producers. We did have the support of Netflix.
Yeah.
I'm not sucking up to you guys, okay? I'm just saying that because that's the reality of it.
Standing over her head with a gun.
I know.
We have to say all these things.
I know.
बड़े अच्छे हैं
बड़े
Netflix.
बहुत अच्छे हैं, हाँ,
Lovely,
they're
lovely,
very
lovely. Masters.
But tell me something, Huma, that is it now time? I mean, with Netflix and other OTT platforms, is it time to celebrate diversity, not just in stories but also in characters?
Honestly, what I really think, I believe in democracy, and I feel like what platforms like Netflix and we owe a great deal to them, where they're sort of making all stories and giving them the same platform. So you can make a show about a housewife from India to some drug lord in Mexico to some little girl in Assam who
Or
wants
The
to be a
Crown,
musician,
yeah,
or the crown,
Crown,
the queen,
yeah.
or whatever,
Yeah.
and you're able to make them, watch them, view them in the same way. What used to happen, or it still happens actually, with conventional studio wisdom, that they decide what films ought to be made at what budget and seen where and how many screens they get, etc., etc. And I've always felt that maybe sometimes it's a bit unfair for some indie filmmaker who has a great idea and just wants to tell a story to compete with some summer blockbuster, like an Avenger kind of a film, and it's really not fair. But does he not deserve to make a film? Does his voice not
Yeah.
need to be heard? Will him making a film about his people and where he comes from, not impact some lives or make some change? And I really feel very strongly that the way to a better world is by telling stories of all sorts of people, of all different backgrounds and races and religions and all of that. Because when a young kid looks at someone who looks like him, or speaks like him, or comes from the same, background, you feel inspired. If this person can do it, so can I. And it doesn't, not that everybody has to become an actor, but it could be anything in your life that you want to achieve. And I feel that's what I think globally, at least there is a sense of it, that we should tell more diverse stories and have more diversity and representation in our casting. And I think that really is the future.
Yeah,
it
it
has
is.
to be. It has to be.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm being told to wrap up, so our pantsuit tuition will have to
Done.
wait for.
I thought you'll come wearing a pants. That's how I was going to recognize you.
Next time, perhaps.
Next time.
Thank you
Next
so
time.
much, and all
Thank
the very
you.
best for Leila.
Thank you.
It's
Thank
going
you.
to be fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.